Okay, mommy. All right. Okay, Reverend Godwin, sir.
I think you know what I'm cooking. Know what I'm cooking? 1 year and 50. Local Baptist Church autonomy. How much autonomous? It's true that our class might not be the immediate context class, but like the teacher said, we too should do good to see that in the church where we are worshiping, especially when we have mouth, we can insist that the right thing is done. There are 3 things, I just want to stress, there are 3 elements about local Baptist church autonomy. That has to do with the context, the content, and the extent. Over time, there is no problem about the context. Nobody is dragging that we are doing what is unbiblical or whatever. The biblical background is there. The context has no issue. The content also has no problem. The local Baptist church itself, finance, governance, is not issue. But the extent has always been a concern. Because so many people believe it is an absolute autonomy. I want to share practical examples that God has helped me to have with some pastors. You know, we are going so many places, and we've been to churches. Many times we say what does not concern us, and what they did not send us there to do. But if the Spirit is willing, you just have to prognose. I asked one senior pastor, for instance, why did your church not pay cooperative due of this year, since I had it during the service? He said, because we are handling capital projects. I asked him what is capital project. He said they are building auditorium. So I asked him, okay, these things we are preaching, it is easy when pastors preach and when we preach to church members like us. But is the church modeling what you are asking us to do? Is another thing entirely. And I asked him that you are building capital, you are handling capital projects, you refuse to pay your mission due for that year. He said, yes, that's okay, let me paint this picture. A church member of yours is building his own house. It's also a capital project to him. And as long as that house project lasts, he will not be paying tithes. Is it okay? He didn't answer me. After some time, he said, but we also processed loan from the convention on account of this auditorium, and they didn't give us. And I have to tell him, what we are just exercising, we are abusing the church polity of local Baptist church autonomy. All these things you are saying is not good. I raised another issue with him, which I also want to share with us, where the church is failing to model the sermon they are preaching to us. I'm earning 30,000 naira, for instance. Let me leave the aspect of those who are not paying, or those who pay when they feel like they want to pay. Those who are even paying, churches who are paying cooperative dues. How many Nigerian Baptist Convention Church can come out and say they are truly calculating the dues, the percentage? Are we not paying what we think is right? It's our dues of the local Baptist church autonomy. Okay, I'm earning 30,000 naira. My pastor will preach to me. 20,000 naira is my basic salary. 10,000 naira is other things. My pastor will preach to me not to pay 2,000 naira as my tithes. That I should pay 3,000 naira gross as my tithes. They've even left that level now. They are preaching the one where they say, if you are working where they've removed Ijoba money, next time your take home is 30,000, but they've deducted 2,000 naira from the bursary. Calculate your tithe to meet that 2,000, not even 30,000. Then my worry is the church doing that? Because I've also been in church where, as I said before, no, that's not what they send us to. But I had emphasis for designated accounts for certain projects, and mistakenly or whatever, the pastor said it's because all those accounts where this money is for buying chair in the church, this money is for buying car, pastor's car, this money is for buying AC, this kind of money we don't pay dues from it. So they go to designated accounts. When you are preaching. In fact, the pastor has preached to me. That one I said I will not take it. That if I want to go to Lagos and I budgeted to spend 5,000 on transport, but I now found somebody, Rector is now going to Lagos, she gives me a ride to Lagos.
Right.
I should tithe the 5,000 naira. Mommy, for you to know, I don't say, this is one of the teachers. Is church modeling it? Now, when church takes project money, takes pledges, takes special whatever, they are not paid dues. Church don't pay dues from that. Is that good? Is that the model of what you are asking us to do? I see that the abuse is on the aspect of the extent. I have interaction of denominations where Episcopal is the order of the day. My brother, if what you are paying does not even increase that, you pay more. Who are you?
You go and look for money.
The bishop will even be, there are bishops that are sharing their experiences, many professors that share, or when they were in church, even the bishop will tell you to do what you know this one is wrong. You have to do it. But because we are autonomous, we don't calculate the extent, we don't calculate what we can, when we are business or when we are not business. So those of us who are teaching the course, and those of us who will become pastors tomorrow, and those of us who have mouths, there are people still here who are in church councils where they are worshiping. Let us insist that the right thing should be done.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Okay. Well, maybe from this discussion now, a question is popping up in my heart. Maybe I should ask before I yeah, this issue of that autonomy. I'm also looking at it from this angle of, because some of our churches don't understand.
Yeah.
We see a situation whereby because of the autonomy, the church at some point are always at loggerhead with the pastors.
Okay.
At some point, the church will be saying, the pastor will be like, this, and it's begin to drag issues between the pastor and the church. But it's also making some pastors very, very vehement now, that they will also want to come and say, no, so rift. And at some point, some of us will be there like, sorry, what is the interest here? How do we take balance? Because at some point, even some of us, when we feel like, we feel this is the right way to do it, Pastor Mani, like Ojo. And if you try to do something contrary, it looks like you are rebelling. So at some point, some of us will just be like, so how do we take the balance in all of this?
All right, that's number one. Anyway.
Mommy, I don't know your question. No, she raised her hand.
I did. I have questions.
Okay.
I have two questions. The first one, I technically asked it during the General Workers' Conference, but unfortunately, when the questions were to, I sent the question, I wrote the question and sent it. But unfortunately, when the questions were to be answered, we were asked to, that was when they asked all the lecturers in the ES to go out. So I wouldn't know if the questions were eventually answered or not. And that has to do with, we believe strongly in the autonomy of the local church, just as regular, that's emphasized it. Now, in which every church, every local Baptist church is expected to pray, to receive, and to take a move under the leadership of the Holy Spirit to call a pastor into the church. I know in the past, I can remember on occasions when people come into our compound and they say they are praying, they have come to ask for a pastor. They may not know the person, they will just pray and come into the compound. At least I have one good experience with it. But no, and that was when churches were plenty, pastors were not, they were not coming in as much as they are coming now. Now my question now is based on, now that we have every year, in all our theological institutions, we are producing pastors on yearly basis. Yet, there are no churches to pastor. So I wouldn't know what we, as leaders, so I don't want to remove myself. Yes, what we are putting in place, thank God Mama is here. And when it gets to talk, you can help us to address what our leaders, we as leaders, what we are putting in place to help this situation. We have many of our students graduating from the degree of faculty and that have graduated for years. Yes, we don't believe in posting pastors. That's not our practice. But yet, I still think there are things we have tried multi-staff, but it's not working. Yes, the reason why I asked the question at that time was the issue of multi-staff was also raised. So that was why I wanted to ask the question. Unfortunately, I don't know if the question was answered or not. The second question is about the migration of the youth, as we talked about. We have seen occasions where in our local Baptist churches we have prepared our youth, we have groomed them to be good in playing musical instruments.
Seriously.
By the time they have little opportunity to go out of our homes, they don't want to join Baptist churches. And one of the things, the factor I detected was that we train them very well in the local Baptist church. But when they go out, they quickly hijack them. Why would they hijack them? They give them incentives. We have many youth in our church, they don't have job. What are we doing as local Baptist churches in helping? There's nothing bad. That's one of the things I emphasize in classes. Anyway, there's nothing bad. Pastors knowing those that are not working in the church. There can be a welfare committee that can be attending to the needs of those youths. If you don't want to continue using them, thank God, those of us that are handling this, Babasa is also here. We need to help these young ones, give them incentives. With that, once if they go out, they will not forget where they are coming from. We expect them, when we train them on musical instruments, we want them to be playing in the church, really. But when we need specialists, I want we pay them. Why can't we embrace the culture of helping those youth to do all? To what extent can we go in stabilizing these youth that are migrating to other churches? Thank you. Thank you, Lord.
Let's go teaching. I want to inform so just communicate about this. Always the pastor wants us to do this, the church wants to do this way. There's something like that in the past conference. The church being the exact amount that should be our due to the convention. And then she was saying, the church is saying we cannot pay it because I said, how can the church dictate to the historical that we cannot pay it? I think it comes back to us as a theological institution. I think it's coming back to us at the theological institution. How can the pastor say we are going to pay the whole percentage that is due to the convention, and the church will be saying, no, we are not going to pay it? It depends on how we pastors, going back to our students and how we present ourselves to the church. I was telling them, I know if the pastor says as a church we want to do this thing, we will do it. If the pastor says as a church we want to do this thing, we can do it. But if the pastor says, but we cannot do it, and given the church a license not to do it, I think we have to let our students know that this convention has invested in us. When it comes back to us paying back to the convention. We should not start. Most of the time, I don't understand the one you are talking about that which one should we do that when the pastor is saying we do this and the church is saying we do it. I know most of the time it's not the church saying we should pay the whole due. But if the pastor is saying we should pay the whole due, whatever is remaining will be sufficient for us. If the pastor says that, and we stand on it, and we teach the church the need to be faithful to our mother denomination, our people will do it. I think it comes to us to stand and let them know that we need to be faithful to the denomination because they are being respected. Even me as a pastor that can pastor you, the convention has paid a large percentage of my school fees by paying the staffs. Because if they didn't pay the staff, I will pay through my nose for my training now. So, I think as pastors and those of us that are teaching Baptist cooperative programs, let's tell the students to please be faithful. In fact, it comes to the whole everyday affair of the church. If the pastor is saying, we don't have money to do, I keep telling people, if the pastor is saying we don't have money, the church won't have money. The pastor is prophesying poverty. But the pastor says, we can do this thing. We do not have money to do it. That's my first reaction to it. The second one is about the idea of paying tithes on all other income. Designated. I don't believe we should pay tithes on designated because that will amount to misappropriation funds. Like our church want to plaster the church and the family give us 5 million and we remove tithes. And we have shown people we need 5 million for plastering of the church and then we remove tithes. We don't have 5 million. Which was to do such members.
Only on non-operating convention.
Not designated body, not designated. That's why when people have a project for something, they create a different account.
Thank you. Yes, you can come as Reverend Ada is coming. The issue of maybe paying money to convention. Before you go to market there,
they want to respond to. Since it's the teacher of this, sit down, sir. Thank you. I want to appreciate our teacher and our contributions. The reason why we are bringing this one is that more than 80% or 90% of us are Baptist members, and we should also be good Baptists in our different churches. Also, when you are all talking, you are talking about this to the convention, this to the association and conference. You need to remember this to BCC or your yes, so yes, BC deals to BCC or your, especially for our churches around us. You know, before when they started, we have 30 conferences that are allocated to our college here. All the 13 were in our board that time. Those of you who are here. But later, during the issue for Ayokunle, they rescheduled them and they gave us 4. They gave us Lagos East, they gave us Oyo here, they gave us Ibadan and Osun. But when I came, it's only Oyo and Oke-Ogun that is trying. And until now, with those 4 conferences and Oke-Ogun, we have some people at Oke-Ogun that even without telling them, you will see their money every month. These are the money that we had to salary and some other things. And in a month, sometimes we can see up to 1 million from those. Somebody, one church paid 1,000 naira. Just yesterday, you will see 24,000. You will see Atan yesterday paid 84,000. This week, a church brought 200,000. Did you get it? So that money, and we are promoting this thing. If all our churches in Oyo Baptist Conference, all our churches in Ibadan Baptist Conference, our churches in Osun, Okeogun, and Lagos is on this one. But we have a few of them who are partnering with us. Even when I went to the Honey Kinte Masorara, their environment is Lagos and they are committed to Baptist College of Theology Lagos. That one force you lay on Lori. Did you get it? And those of us who are in board, you will see that the person that they said should come has never attended our board meeting. But in fairness to him, he gives us token every year. Did you get it? So even this subvention, this dues that we are talking about, please, let's also be promoting. Àwọn míì á ní 2%, àwọn míì ò ní 2.5, whichever one. And they can't say, wọ́n kà á pé o, wọ́n kà á pé o, and they come for us only budget. Kids go máa wọ college wa. I'm doing something that the bursary has been so slow about it. Mo ní kọ́kọ́ gbogbo orúkọ staff. Kọ́ wá fi síwájú ẹ̀. Staff wo ni church ẹ̀ kì í san dues ẹ̀ di staff láti wà ní ìbàdàn. Yes, because if you are collecting our salary here and your church is not paying dues, you are cheating us. Because you are collecting money here and you are paying your tithes to their church and they are not remembering where you are serving. It's wickedness. It's wickedness. So by the time we finish, we are going to write to churches that have been paying dues. That is thank you. Àwọn tí church wọn san dues, àwọn akọ́lẹ́tà kan pé àwọn ọmọ ọjọ́ yìí wọ́n ṣiṣẹ́ níbi ẹ gbọ́dọ̀ máa san dues and even more than dues for the college. Did you get it? So sharing over our kidney, there is a way we apply it to our own context. So the other thing that I brought out of it is that from what our sister said, wípé àwọn ọmọ wa wọ́n migrate. Gbogbo wa tá ní àwọn ọmọ tó ti lọ university kò sẹ́ni tí ò lè struggle pẹ̀lú àwọn ọmọ yẹn. Kò sí except you stand your ground pé owó Baptist ló fi tó ẹ láti bẹ̀rẹ̀ tó yóò lọ mi kan tó wá lọ kò gbà kankan lọ́wọ́ mi mọ́. That's why they stay. I'm telling you. Then on this musical issue, àwa náà kan tó jẹ́ musician. Àwa la training, I know millions that we pay for his training. He will come, he will travel all the way from Lagos to church to come and play. Tí gbogbo string kìíní ẹ̀ bá ṣe báyìí, àwa la máa rà fún. Àwa church ló máa lò fún, àwa la máa rà fún, àwa la máa ṣe gbogbo ẹ̀. We told him, there was a time he was struggling with us. Wọ́n máa sọ salary fóun ní redeem. Wọ́n máa sọ fún, we say he should not go and he obeyed us. He obeyed us, he did not go. He obeyed us, he honored what we told him. That's why those children go kó tẹ̀wá ló jẹ́ pé àwọn ọmọ tó bí wọn ò lówó lọ́wọ́. Wọ́n máa lọ fa, wọ́n lọ. Wọ́n máa fún yín lówó, àwọn máa jókòó. Every Sunday wọ́n fún wọn 10,000. Yes. So we have to encourage that our churches should be generous. Mountain of fire. Tó bá ní gifts for training ọ̀fẹ́ náà máa kọ́ ẹ̀. Wọ́n á sì ra musical instrument fáwọn ọmọ yẹn. Táyé ò ní lọ sí ibùgbé yẹn. Àwọn tí wàá mọ̀sá máa debate. Wọ́n máa debate náà ní Òṣogbo náà ní. So we have to reorientate. But those of us who are parents, let's continue to stand our ground for our children. Pé ṣé ẹni Baptist ta wà ní ó pé wa? Bẹ́ẹ̀ni bá tún wá Baptist náà ni màá tún ṣe. Báyìí ẹ̀ bá wà. But what we are saying is that let's just correct the abnormalities and just like Reverend Izzy has said, churches ta wà tá lè correct wọn, tá lè jẹ́ kí wọ́n mọ̀. Like I'm not saying it so that maybe you can know what we are doing. There was a church sometime that they planted and pastor yẹn dẹ̀ sọ pé àwọn nílò àwọn tó máa san
owó oṣù student pastor. We did it for 1 year. Not that we had that much money. You know, I've said it before. Giving is not because you have much money. We did it for 1 year. Inú ilé tiwa a máa ń ṣe clean the house. Gbogbo aṣọ tó bá nílò mú tí ò dé bàjẹ́ á fọ̀ á yọ ọ̀nẹ̀ wọ́n á kó lọ sáwọn fíìdì ní màá àná ìtẹ̀ màá gbàdúrà wọ́n á kó lọ. You know, all of these things. There was a time daddy is here wọ́n fẹ́ ṣe kankan ní church wa pastor wa struggle owó tó fẹ́ gbà yẹn ti pọ̀ jù owó yẹn ti pọ̀ jù ní chairman kíni no chairman evangelism committee ló bá sọ fún mi pé kẹ́ sọ fún wọn pé kọ́ máa san I will pay it I pay everything I paid it just to know jẹ́mọ̀ just to let them later in now come wọ́n lẹ́yìn lẹ́ bá wa sanwó yẹn ṣe òun ní dẹ́lẹ́rẹ̀ náà ní wọ́n bá tiẹ̀ má dàrúkọ wa rárá pé àwa la sanwó yẹn you know so that just to help them to know because àwa tá jẹ́ pastor a máa ń láwọn gan bí àbábá ìlú àwọn pastor wọ́n ní àwọn tó jẹ́ pé not all pastors larger percentage maybe because of the receiving mentality ẹlòmíì ò lè fún yàn ní gift gift tó kéré báyìí kò lè fún ẹlòmíì yóò sì máa fẹ́ kí gbogbo àwọn èèyàn kọ́ máa mú gift that's not life so ọlọ́run á ràn wá lọ́wọ́ and churches where they struggle with the pastor church pastor yẹn will be full control by the church bí wá ti jẹ́ pé whatever you tell the members wọ́n máa respect the pastor wọ́n máa tó sí pastor sọ olúwa ràn wá lọ́wọ́ the freedom that we have we should not misuse it then there are another thing that people say is tithing only the salary you receive is a sin ìwọ náà mọ gbogbo deductibles tó ti ṣe ó wá jẹ́ tó o bá gbà ló máa san táìtì ẹ̀ṣẹ̀ ni o gbogbo ẹ̀ ní o mọ iye total salary ẹ wọ́n ti yọ cooperative wọ́n ti yọ yìí ó wá jẹ́ tó o kàn gbà yẹn ló san táìtì lélẹ̀ ìdàkúdà ló dáhùn yes ìdàkúdà ni your full tithe is all your gross salary gbogbo ẹ̀ àwọn kan dẹ̀ wà tí wọ́n máa ń ṣe débi wípé wọ́n á wò pé mo tún gba ẹ̀bùn ẹnìkan fún mi gift wà á táìtì ẹ̀ ìgbà míì wà àwọn táìtì míì wà tó jẹ́ tí ò ń ṣe owó ó kàn lè fojú pé ẹnìkan fún mi láṣọ ó ti yé yín ẹnìkan fún mi ní this thing you too can just look at it ó look somehow but it's just to be religious and it pays back it pays back then there are times that when you receive you also give out bó ṣe give out tó ló tún gbà sí ìgbà míì ó máa wá ìgbà míì kò ní wá because the mind of pé as you give you receive back what of if you don't receive so ẹjọ olúwa ràn wá lọ́wọ́ when you don't receive it ma it accumulates there is a way God pays you back.
Thank you, Mom. We are grateful. For all this that we have spoken about, I appreciate, especially autonomy of the culture. But it boils down on the issue of finance, which should necessarily not be if things are being done right. Then we don't need to struggle about the autonomy of the culture. Now, most times it boils down to the issue of money, finances. It should not be if things are done right. But I also have this mountains and levels. One of our pastors, one of the he's talking for Jesus last time, 8 years ago, the issue of call system. He emphasized the fact that he was struggling with the fact that the youth of his church were saying that he did not apply. He did not apply that application letter. Not just the youth.
Apply application
Letter.
for calling.
For calling. I'm coming. This is the true thing now. So he is saying it has been an issue in his area that there are some pastors that want to come in. The churches are saying they should submit their CV. I'm coming, Mama. You are right. But I'm coming from this angle. You know, when people say, "Oh, Satabansi," some of these churches were not taught how to receive pastors. Mommy, Some of the elders that have spent 69 years, 54 years, they have seen Pastor Bakari, he left. Pastor Jinadu came, and some other things. Most of the time when the pastor comes and probably spend 20 years, there is not a single time when the pastor teaches them about cooperative system. There's not a single time when the church pastor teaches them, if I leave, this is the approach. So youths coming up to them and say, Shebi, I apply civil service. And then go and apply. Yeah, that's what happened. In Ibadan, it happened. There are two churches, two strong churches, that until the association could not even stop them. The conference had to write a letter that
the pastor of the man.
and they put it online. They put it online that the pastors should apply. Don't you get it? Now, if it is associateship, maybe specifically for missions, specifically for youth, there are areas in which you want to know some things about them. So when we do teach these generations of coming, there will be crisis. We don't teach them about post system. We don't teach them about cooperative funding. We need to educate them. They may not like it, but when some of them get to know about it, say, that is it. So we need to educate them. The pastor at Oshobo, eventually, he was happy that I was the one that handled the thesis. He was happy at the end of the day for the outcome of the thesis because he was able to resolve his trouble. And I said, before you leave, begin to teach them. You have spent 10 years, I mean, by the time you are 15 years, God said you should begin to teach them how they should receive or how the pastor should be. Most of our elders, when they appoint them as church elders, after the pastor have left, they rubbish some things. They put some things aside. So please, I plead that we teach the upcoming generation. Moments have spoken about the issue of pastors saying, no, this is that. Well, there should not be any rift with regard to that. I believe some of us pastors, if we want to do that which is right, we will do it. I started with Goodness Baptist Church. Why? Goodness Baptist Church, Lagos, seconded me. And I met a congregation of 100 more. Another a month or 2 months, we're counting 13. And I said, God, why? God said, when you are coming, let me show you. And exactly what God showed me when I was going was a playground with a standing microphone in it. Not a single soul. God said, begin the work. Today is a great job. Not by virtue of me. Another thing God showed me was that it's like a baby that was given back to the mother is not the mother is not happy. And for the 4 years I showed me. Now, let me where I'm going with this. I began the very month I resumed to pay cooperative fund. Maybe because I was aware. And friends, my thesis was on cooperative fund of the Nigerian Baptist Convention. That's my MD. Just I was ready to defend that. The moment I resumed, how many of the college I determined some of the things. I said the funding should begin immediately. And so we began, in fact, First Baptist Church that was already 40 something years, or even 50 something, we are not paying anything for the generations. And go and look at the book of reporting today. I started paying. I said, you that just even a small money. But for the fact that we were reflected in association, conference, and convention, it became a trouble. This small pastor, now don't come now. Now come the show. Come the show. If the pastor wants to do that which is right, the pastor will do it. For the 4 years I spent there before God moved me to the middle gate, we were paying. The pastor that came, the pastor that came for everything. It could not continue. So please, we pastors, we should be willing to guide the church and tell them what is right to do. We show some of our students have completed and they have nothing to do. We have issues with the multi-staff issue. But at the same time, I tell these our friends that they should not throw away their vocation that they were called before they were called. I don't expect that. I don't say they should go and do Okada. But there are some, I know at least one or more than one, who was a surveyor. He was a surveyor. And God called him and he trained. As much as he was a surveyor, under his local church, he planted another church. Today, he's been seconded there as the pastor. Sometimes God wants you to even learn, even after your training. Sometimes God wants to equip you in your local location. Sometimes God wants to see what you can do. I'm not saying it is good for them to be roaming about. No. But let's tell our children to be able to be patient and work well and listen to God. That pastor is already, in that church, they build their auditorium. Oh, maybe because the wife also has money. But you see, where I'm going is that he was versatile in his life. 90% of our weekenders are civil servants, they are workers. Will we throw them away? God has gifted them gifts of ministry. It doesn't mean that every ministry in the church will be paid for money. It doesn't mean. All of us that are gifted, as born again Christians, you are gifted. You are serving as church secretary, you don't have to be paid. Except if the church appreciates you. I'm not removing the fact that we should appreciate our workers. We should. A pastor should be able to acknowledge them. 5 years, 10 years, they were working with you. This what is on farm? It is something. I want chickens and buy chicken. I want finance to buy chicken. Which day have you even called them out and say, "Eba mi ki amon money. I want to take chicken on you." And so we all Christians. I tell part of the training I give back for friends here is that look, all Christians are ministers. Write it again. All Christians are what? Ministers. Because they are gifted for ministry. Christians. They don't have to be trained formally before they minister as sexton, before they minister as usher, before they minister as choir member. They have been playing guitar for years now. That's part of ministry. And keyboarding. Let's appreciate them. Let's know that they are part of the ministry that God has given to the church. Many of them may not come to the seminar, but then, at the level in which they are, we should appreciate them. If some of them come and they don't have a place of come, let's still engage them and give them something. Pending the time the Lord will do something. Thank you.
1 minute. I need 1 minute. Please, I want to call 1 minute for what Dr. Jessica said. 1 minute. That's down about that stuff. Okay. Honestly, there are movements already pushing on our pastors who are not serving.
Seriously.
And if the system don't know, if MBC don't know, it's a problem. There are establishments already that is feeding on our people who are not working.
Yes.
And they are even starting schools. So they are not only, I'm not many of our people that called me to celebrate. When you ask, they say, no, it's a something, but not on that convention. I say, but how did Baptists find a way in the name? They say, oh, that after 2 years, 3 years, I'm at home. What do you ask me? Did you help me? Blah, blah, blah. Now they are starting school too. One of their schools approached me to be the adjunct lecturer. When I asked critical questions, I concluded that you'll be using me to market the school. Some of us, as I was saying no, the man was telling me, some of you here, they also work with us here. And when he's repeating it, I confirm that that is your selling, you are using us to sell the school. Our children will also be going there. You are not only pushing them for pastorate, you're also organizing school for them. The convention should know that there is already foundations pushing on our pastors who are not working. And here I want to conclude it is that our people say, and it's only this question that place. I tell God maybe you are not there. And also tell God you are not there a hot member, you are not a head of theological institution member.
That's what I'm saying.
Because if a hot member asks that question and I am in the position to ask, I will ask him first. What is the hot? The theological institutions should take the lead about pastorate, churchless pastors.
Churchless pastors.
And the theological institution to take the lead. Before we ask of how the system would help us, we can start from somewhere. We can start from discussing it. We can start by having a diary of the college students, especially those who are not, if you go through the diary, it's not a business of everybody. is going to be a paid one-man job, because the diary will always be shuffled and reshuffled. If you go to church, you go back to the testimony side. If you're not, you remain on the prayer side. Then you can invite them. You are having a ministers conference. There could be one program for them. Let them know that you have them in mind. Not that they are 3 years, 4 years, nobody's talking to them. All of a sudden, XY Baptist Church come and carry them. And before you hear, this person is now the pastor of Igwe Baptist Church. Mama Wanu, I want to pro project. Then when they were at home, everybody's
Now we are going into prayer, and to handle that is HODRE, University of Brethren, Dr. Grace Afolabi. Please, let's appreciate.